All right. Looks like everything's working. I think we're live. I think we're good to go. So let's get disclaimers out of the way. We'll jump right in. We'll get into it. This is the weekly live broadcast, pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central. This is where I am. If you've got questions or comments that you haven't been able to get to respond to, this is a good place to do it because honestly, I haven't been very good about responding to comments lately. I apologize for that. I just get so many of them, and I got so much going on right now that I just haven't been able to get back in the swing of responding to comments. But I do my best on this. I don't have a topic planned out, so we just go through the chat as the live chat rolls, and I try to respond to every live chat that comes through, unless of course it's directed at somebody else, because a lot of the times you guys are talking to each other, and that's all good. I just tend to skip over those. We'll talk about whatever you want to. The only things I ask is you keep it polite, family friendly. Don't be rude with anybody. Don't cuss at anybody. Don't start calling anybody names. We can have difference of opinions, a good debate about things. That's fine. There's no reason to hate somebody because of a difference of opinion or anything like that. So let's jump into it. We got Chester Hickman here. Good to see you. And Ed Got Bait jumping in early. Good to see you too. Thanks for joining. Says, hope everyone, or hello, Chris and everyone. Hope all is well. It's all good with me. Hopefully it is with you too. And there's War Child. Hello, everyone. Shout out from New Zealand. We got Chester Hickman saying, is a year old too old for a rabbit? No, nowhere near you. Too old. I mean, a year old's young. So you can breed does usually up to about 5-6 years, somewhere right around in there. Bucks sometimes will go a little bit further than that. It kind of depends, but yeah, you're good. A year old, no problems. Now, if you haven't bred her yet, I would get her bred right away, because if you wait too long, it can be hard to get them to breed. They could develop fat around their ovaries and those kinds of things. It could be hard to get the breeding to take. So, you might want to get her bred pretty soon, but no, it's not too old at all. Rabbit Homesteading says, he's talking to Chester, says, no, not for breeding anyways. I don't recall exactly, but maybe 5 years and good, but eventually a predator attack, so maybe longer for eating them is still okay. Okay, that was a little jumbled up there. I had a hard time following all of that, but I think you're saying that, yeah, up to 5 years for breeding is, they'll usually breed for up to 5 years. And they're good for eating still fine. Yeah, it's fine. You can eat an older rabbit too. I like to try to get them processed before they hit sexual maturity, because I think it just provides a little bit better meat, but it's not too old. You can definitely do well with that. Bob Cole says, Happy New Year. Oh, he said howdy, folks. I think I skipped that one, but says Happy New Year. Well, Happy New Year to you too. I forgot. This is the first time. I haven't been live since last year. So, a good dad joke in there for you guys. Jesse Mills says, good evening to everyone. Good to see you, Jesse. I think I already said hi to you, but no, I didn't. It was Ed. I got you mixed up with Ed. So good to see you, Jesse. Thanks for joining us. And Blessed with Pets, hello to you too. Bev Smith says, hello everyone from chilly Florida. Burr. Yeah, it's chilly here too. I think it's probably, I don't know, high 20s right now. I really don't know. Don says, good evening from South Central Illinois. Good evening to you. Good to see you. And Jacob Wolf, hello to you. Rabbit Home Saint says, I can't call you all out, but hey, all. LOL. Well, that's all right. It works. Everybody gets the point. Billy Glass, it says, howdy all. Hope New Year has been good for you all. Well, so far it's been good for me. Started my new job this week. Kind of uneventful so far, because I'm just waiting on access to everything and kind of learning. It's in mental health, I guess healthcare, in a sense. And, it's a new industry for me. So I've been kind of doing some training, learning a little bit about the industry. I'm a data analyst, so I'm not going to be working. They don't want me working with people that have, any kind of mental issues at all. That would not be good. So they have me doing data analyst work. But I haven't really got going on that just yet, because I'm waiting on access to all the data and those kinds of things. So it'll happen. G. Michael says, hey, all. Hope everyone is having a good start to their new year. Well, I hope you are too. Good evening, Verna. Good to see you. So sorry, so late. What do you mean so late? It's like 2 minutes, 4 minutes past. You're not late. It's all good. Dawn Skin from South Mississippi. Good to see you. Nuno, I think it says, from Fairhaven, Massachusetts. Thanks for joining us tonight. Verna says 25 degrees here in Southwest Ohio. I think it's about the same here. And Bev says, yeah, chilly for Florida anyway. What is that exactly? what temperature is it there, I wonder? Spartman says, almost missed it again. Got to set an alarm, LOL. Yeah, well, I'm sorry about that, switching times on you guys, but we'll get back into the swing of it, or you will hopefully get back into the swing, getting used to it being at 7 Central. All right. Bob says our high today was 25, blowing snow all day. Oh my goodness, we were actually, it wasn't a bad day in the afternoon. It kind of warmed up. I think we got up close to 40 or so, and it wasn't snowing, so it really wasn't that bad. Chris from the North Pole, good to see you. What we got here? Oh, I scrolled too far. Sorry, I got to find where I left off. There we go. Olga says, what would cause the doe to miscarry 14 days before the delivery day? Second pregnancy. The first one was full term, but the babies were dead. She's a California, started breeding her at 11 months. Thanks. I don't know that I can put my finger on any one thing that would cause that to happen. It sounds like there's some kind of issues with the rabbit, though, whether she has poor mothering instincts, whether she's just, has some kind of genetic issue that causes those kinds of things. I might try one more time, and if you have unsuccessful litter with that, I'd retire her, get a new rabbit. That's what I would do. You could do that now. I mean, you got 2 in a row now. Started breeding her at 11 months old. I don't know that that's going to, I mean, if anything, that would probably have an issue with her not being fertile, not being able to have babies at all. But she got pregnant, obviously. She had a miscarriage at 14 days before her delivery date, and the first pregnancy, she had a bunch of babies that all died. Whether they died after they were born or whether they were stillborn, I don't know. But I can't tell you exactly what causes that. There's a lot of different things that could cause it. If it was me and you can afford to, try again. Go ahead. Like I said, if it doesn't work out this next time, 3 strikes, you're out. I would get another rabbit. But that's just me. D&K Circle wants to know, did you ever start selling your Hush light? No, it didn't work out. That company gypped me out on the money I put down on it. I still need to do those refunds. Darn it, I completely forgot about that. Let me pull something up because I had to refund the money that people prepaid for it. And I got to pull something up to make sure I remember to do that. Okay. Where we at here? D&K Circle Ranch says, congrats on the new job. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Verna says, if I'm on time, Chris, then I'm late. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way most of the time, too. Bev Smith says, I'm a data analyst as well in the healthcare field. Really? Small world, huh? What kind of, what do you use? What do you do most of your data analyzing in? Do you use Excel? Do you use Power BI, Tableau, or something else? I'm kind of curious. I'm going to be primarily using Power BI, but I come from an Excel background. I know Excel very, very well. So it's a little bit of a transition for me, but I think I got it down. We'll find out. Bev Smith says in Florida, it's down to the 50s in my area tonight. Oh, poor you. I know that's cold. If you're not acclimated to it, that's cold. It was cold when a couple of weeks ago when it was in the low 40s, high 30s. But I'm kind of acclimated to it now, so that's not so bad. Michael Jr. says, question, since you're storing and hatching eggs playlist, is there anything new you've learned and would like to include? I don't think so. I mean, that pretty much, most of the content I upload is what they call evergreen content. I mean, it doesn't change. So I don't think there's anything new since the storing and hatching eggs playlist that I've learned. You don't necessarily have to be, nerd out on it quite that much. You don't have to do what's it called, Listerine spray over them if you don't want to. You don't have to do the float testing if you don't want to do that, and you can still end up with pretty decent hatch rates. But if you want to get the absolute best hatch rates, those are the things that you would need to do. And I'm trying to remember if that was in my hatching and storing and hatching playlist or if that was something I did afterwards. But either way, that pretty much holds true. There's nothing really new that I can think of. Scrap 5000 says, what's up, all? Greetings from New York City. Missed the last 3, and the withdrawal is painful. Well, hey, thanks for making it tonight. I'm glad to see you. Boris says, tonight and tomorrow morning in Joplin, I hope Tri-State Truck Center have gasket for my exhaust. Oh, no. You're in Joplin tonight and tomorrow morning. You're hoping the Tri-State Truck Center has a gasket for your exhaust. Oh, my gosh. I hope so, too. Well, I mean, heck, if it wasn't so late at night, I'd say meet up or something. But, yeah, I'm going to be working tomorrow, and it's kind of late tonight. But, well, enjoy it while you're in town. I don't know if you need advice on some place to go. You probably don't have a way to get around. But if you did and you needed advice, I'd let you know. But, you can just let me know. All right. Blessed with Pet says, what do you do for a buck that likes to take his time and pretty lazy when breeding, but he's in a healthy weight? Well, I mean, as long as he's getting the job done, let him do it. I mean, I don't know that there's any real major concerns there. Usually when you talk about a buck that's pretty lazy, that wants to just sit in the corner and doesn't really want to breed or something like that, they're overweight. So you want to cut back on it just a little bit. Now, Verna's asking how old is he, and that could be another issue. If he's too old. But as long as he's getting the job done eventually, I don't know that that's a big issue. Just be patient with him. Let him go. Bob says, what happens if an egg freezes, not for incubation now? Just wondering what else happens to an egg. Okay, so, well, if an egg freezes, if it cracks, then, of course, you're exposing that to bacteria. If you're going to plan on eating it, you want to use it up pretty quick. I usually just throw them out, honestly, because I get enough eggs. I don't really worry about if one of them cracks or something like that. Now, if it freezes and doesn't crack, well, there's not really much of an issue there. You can go ahead and use it like you would any other egg. I'm sorry, got distracted here. But what was I going with that? But no, it's not really a problem. But if it does crack, like I said, that's going to open it up, expose it to bacteria, and it could go bad pretty quick. So you want to use it up pretty quick, or like I said, just throw them out. That's what I do. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, I'm so and of course, just to address it, it's not going to incubate. It's not going to hatch. So don't worry about even trying to incubate it. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, I'm so beat. Drove about 3.5 hours today to pick up a quarter of a cow, small, about 150 pounds, worth every moment and penny, though. Well, congratulations on the meat in the freezer. But I understand, that's a long drive for it. I'm surprised you can't get something better anyway, or something closer, I should say. Hopefully you got a good price on it and you got meat in the freezer now. So absolutely worth it, huh? Jacob Wolf wants to know, do you have any New Year's resolutions? What are your goals, plans for the channel and the animals this year? My goal is to get back. I don't really do New Year's resolutions. I don't know why. I just don't really mess with it. But my goal is to get back on track with putting some videos out, because it's been about 3 weeks or so since I put a video out. I've just had such a hard time coming up with anything to shoot video on. I've covered everything I can think of. So I need to get back on track with it. That's really my big goal. Clifton says, good evening from a chilly South Mississippi, peeling and pickling about 200 eggs from our own birds while watching the live. Happy New Year, everyone. Chris, congratulations on the new job. Well, thank you so much. And I have yet to find a pickled egg I like. I've tried pickling them a couple of times, and I just didn't like them. So hopefully yours turn out better. Scrap 5000 says, also picked up 2 gallons of raw milk. Can't wait to make some fresh mozzarella. Yeah, we've got I don't know if they're still there. I haven't been in a while, but the neighboring town, Webb City, Missouri, which is where I'm actually from. I graduated high school in Webb City. Anyway, you probably never heard of it unless you're from the area or you watch a lot of high school football, because they're pretty big in high school football. But they have a farmer's market, best one around. And they used to have a vendor there that sold raw milk. I used to get it every once in a while. Big plug of cream right on the top of it. Man, it was great. Beverly Smith says, I'm a database person, MS SQL, Oracle, and mainly produce ad hoc reports, SSIS, etc. Okay, well, I understand that. So you're dealing with mostly SQL, and I know SQL a little bit, not real well because I haven't used it. I taught myself SQL probably 15 years ago, but I haven't had a need to use it, so I kind of let that go. To me, SQL's not that complex. I can write enough code right now where I could pull data out of SQL, but that's pretty much about where I'm at. If I had to learn it, I could probably learn it. But anyway, I don't have to learn it because I got Power BI. So Blessed with Pet says, between 1 and 2 I'd have to check the pedigree. 1 and 2 years old, that's your buck, right? Between 1 and 2 years old, I'd have to check the pedigree. But I have his daughter that I thought as well, so I know he's proven. So, yeah, well, like I said, if he's getting the job done, I don't know that that's a big issue. Just maybe a little bit slow, or maybe, I don't know, who knows? There could be a number of things. Are you sure he's not overweight? Because you may need to put him on a little bit of a diet, help him get his energy back. Scrap 5000 said everyone smash the like button. We got 22 likes here, 50 people in, so 23 now. So we're getting there. G. Michael says, question, what's your opinion on the effect of using an egg turner, needed versus not needed versus good to have? Well, it's definitely a convenience. If you're not going to use an egg turner, you don't absolutely need to use an egg turner, but you will need to kind of roll the eggs around a little bit every day, at least probably twice a day, something like that. Or, tilt the incubator a little bit one way and then tilt it back the other way a little bit, a couple times a day, just to get those eggs kind of moving around a little bit so that the yolk and stuff inside moves around a little bit and the air sac gets positioned right. The egg turner is definitely a convenience factor. Makes it a lot easier than having to do it manually. And honestly, they're not that expensive for me anyway. I feel like it's just a no-brainer. Just go ahead and do it. Save myself having to, it almost makes it like a set and forget when you're incubating. Billy Glass says, I have 15 quail in the spring. Can I keep the eggs stay in laying box until can I let the eggs stay in the laying box until I get 130 eggs to incubate them? How long can I store eggs before incubating them? Okay, that depends a lot on what your climate's like in the spring and what's going on at the time. You do stand a chance if you just leave the eggs in there, depending on how long it takes to get 130 eggs. I don't know. They may start pecking at the eggs. You may have some cracked, broken eggs and lose some of them. If it's warm enough, say above about 80 degrees during the day, you're going to have eggs that start to develop and then end up dying because it's not the right incubation temperature. It's really best to probably collect them up and store them yourselves. Now, I do it pretty easily. You can store them up to about 7 days. You could go 10 days, but after about 7 days, you start to have some issues with some of the fertility starting to drop off. You could store them for 10 days if you needed to, but you may end up with a little bit of an impact to your hatch rate. Not huge, but a little bit. But what I do is I just put them in egg cartons. I put them in a cooler with like an ice pack, not an ice pack, but one of those things you stick in the freezer and freeze, and you put in your cooler to keep it cool. Put one of those in there. You really are ideal temperature to store them at. It's going to be somewhere between about 40 degrees and about 60 degrees, let's say, somewhere right around in there. It's not super picky. If you go a little bit over that, 65 degrees, that's going to be okay. That's not a big deal. But I just do that. I put them in a cooler. They also need to be turned while you're storing them. So I just set them in an egg carton like this in a cooler. And then every day I turn it around when I put new eggs in it. So it's sitting like this, and then it's sitting like that, basically. That's the turning that it needs. So that's kind of how I do it. It's a pretty easy way to do it, and that'll work. All right, Rabbit Homesteading says, slightly redneck, you keep giving great advice to people. So awesome, agreeing with what I know of also. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Beth Smith says, hey, hi, Tony. Oh, fellow Canadian here. Did I miss Tony? Did I say hi to Tony? I may have missed you, Tony. I'm sorry. Hello to you from Toronto. Good to see you. Bob says, eggs that are cracked go to Luna on the back porch before making it into the house. That's the dog. So, yeah, that's a good choice, too. Max gets some eggs, too, from time to time. Silver Creek Wildlife's here. Says, howdy, y'all. Good to see you. Verna says, I wish I could get a hold of fresh, raw goat's milk. I'm not sure I've ever had goat's milk. I like goat cheese quite a bit, but I don't know if I've ever had goat's milk. I'd be willing to try it. Chris, Suman, I think it is. Anyway, it says, I've made a traditional honey mustard and hot pickled quail eggs that my family loved. My wife especially liked the hot. I can dig out the recipes at some point. Go for it. I'm not sure. I may give them a try again. I don't know. I got a bunch of eggs right now, so may have to try that. Oh, sorry. Lost track of where I was at there for a second. There we go. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, would you know if feeding rabbits only pellets and not any hay can be detrimental to their health? No, it's not going to be bad. In fact, there's a lot of people that's all they feed is pellets. If you want the fastest grow out in your rabbits, pellets, just nothing but pellets. You're going to get the best possible grow out rate you can get. Pellets provide everything that they need. Hay's a nice to have from time to time, especially if you get a rabbit that's like blocked up or has some problems. A lot of times hay can help kind of relieve that because it's a different kind of fiber that helps with that, but it's usually not necessary, and you're not going to have any issues with just feeding pellets to them. Olga wants to know, can you make a video on separating rabbit poop from the hay? Thanks, by the way. Thank you very much for all your videos. Well, I could do that, but I don't have any problems with that. Have you seen my video on the no waste hay feeders? I put them on the outside of the cage so I can just stuff hay in them pretty easily. And the rabbit just pulls the hay through the wire basically, and it's right above their feeder. So anything that falls out falls right in their feeder. Yeah, I could maybe try shooting a video on that. I just don't have any hay in the rabbit manure that I have down below. And honestly, even if I did, unless it was an extremely high amount of it, I'd just leave it in there. Let it decompose in your garden. I mean, there may be a few seeds that sprout in it, but those are usually pretty easy to pull out. It's not a big deal. Unless you have like a whole bunch of hay, that would be a different thing. And then you'd have to work on some kind of sifter. I got to figure that one out. Thank you for the video suggestion. I just don't know that I can shoot it because I don't have the issue. S.O. Swanson says, greetings to the quail family. Blessed with Pets says, well, he's not really trying at all. I ended up breeding most of my does to my other buck because I got impatient. The last one, he was licking her. I only fed 1/2 a cup a day. Well, you might try that for another couple of weeks and then try to breed them again, or try that until you're ready to breed again and try them again and see if that fixes it. So Swanson says, can we get a few more thumbs up? 51 watching, only 22. Let's make the reverse those numbers. Well, we're at 38 now, so we're getting there. Abba Love says, Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year to you too. And Billy Glass says, thank you. I don't know if that was directed to me or not, but you're welcome if it was. Nuno says, chicken eating eggs. What do you do? Does anything that you can do that can stop them from eating eggs? Eating day on eggs. Okay, so your chickens are eating their eggs and you want to get them to stop. So there are a couple of things that you could do. A lot of the times if they're eating their eggs, it kind of indicates that maybe there's a protein issue. You may need to bump up the protein just a little bit in their feed and see if that helps. In combination with that, you might try to get some artificial eggs. They make like ceramic ones. You put those in there, they start pecking those, they quickly realize that's not food, and then they may stop eating all of their eggs. Those are my suggestions on that. It looks like Verna's got the same thing. She says, get some artificial eggs. Once I try to eat them, they will stop since I can't eat them. Justin says, sorry I haven't been on much, but good to be back. Well, hey, we're glad to have you back. Let's see where we're at here. Oh, S.O. Swanson says to fill an egg with mustard and see which hen has a face full of mustard when eating that one. There you go. It's not a terrible idea either. Emma says, Happy New Year, Chris. Happy New Year, everyone. Glad you to be making the live from the UK. I often miss, but I'm still in holiday mode. Looking forward to eggs going in this week. Well, awesome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Sorry I can't make this available at all times, make it convenient for everyone. I know it's not, but this is the time that's available for me, so I just do the best I can. But hey, I'm glad you can make it today. Let's see. Justin Mitchell says, how do you keep the garden fabric down? Mine keeps flying up with the wind. I have the garden stakes. Okay. Which ones are you using though? Because they sell some at like the local, like Home Depot, Lowe's, that are like flimsy, tiny little stakes. Go on like Amazon. I think they're in my Amazon shop, and get those like contractor grade ones. They're longer and they're more heavy duty. And you just have to put more in if you still have problems at that point. Let me double check my Amazon shop and make sure that they're actually in there. Let's take a look here. You may be able to find the ones if they're in there. Yeah, I've got some I've got some listed in there. Here, I can give you a link for it if you want it. And this is a, what do you call that? Affiliate link. So if you order off that link, I get like a penny or two. Who knows? Maybe it's 50 cents. I don't even know how much it would be. Doesn't cost you anymore, but it does send me money. Not a lot. I make a little bit of money off of Amazon affiliate links, but not a whole lot. Where are we at here? If you're using those already though, and you're still having issues, let me know. We'll see. I mean, that's probably if you're using that kind already, you just need to put some more in. But I haven't had any issues with those pulling out. Of course, I also have Southwest Missouri soil that gets pretty compacted. I try not to walk on my beds themselves, so the beds themselves don't get that way. But where I put the stables in, it gets pretty tough sometimes. So Less with Pets says, I had a comment saying he was between 1 to 2. I've been sitting here watching them since the live beginning, and he hasn't even tried yet. Yeah, that's an issue for sure. If the buck's not at all interested in the doe, that doesn't sound right. I mean, like I said, most of the time usually it's a weight issue, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it could be something more. You may have to just give him a little bit of time, try him again in a month, whenever you're ready to breed again or whatever that would be. And then I don't know if you're still having issues after putting him on a diet and all that, then look for a new rabbit. Unfortunately, I don't have a good solution. Chris says, what's your experience with baby rabbit litter survival rates? The numbers I have found are all over the place. Thank you. So you're talking about like when I have a litter of rabbits, how many of them survive? Well, it depends on how big the litter is. If I get more than like 10, I usually lose 1 or 2. But other than that, I very seldom lose any. I usually have pretty good survival rates out of my litters, unless they're born on the wire and they're not in the nest box. I might lose 1 out of a litter here or there, but it's rare. Usually they all make it. I would probably say if you were to, like, over the course of, like, I don't know, let's say 15, 20 breedings, I probably, if I accumulate all that together, probably somewhere around an 80, 90% survival rate. Maybe a little higher. I don't know. Justin says, how do you fertilize under it? Okay, so you're talking about the garden fabric. So I pull it all up at the end of the year. Actually, I didn't do it at the end of the year. I'm going to do it at the beginning of the year because I was lazy and didn't get to it until it got really cold. So unless we get like a nice weekend or something like that, I may go ahead and do that. I pull it all up and I just throw some compost and rabbit manure on it, and then I put the fabric back down. That's it. I'm going to rotate my rows this year. I've been growing in the same row, the same things in the same rows for the most part, like my tomatoes in the same row, my cucumbers in the same spot. And I had some issues with the last 2 years with my tomatoes, some blight issues and things like that it just didn't do real well. So I'm going to try rotating them, putting them in the section where I was growing like green beans last year, moving that stuff around and seeing if that helps. Miss Kitty says, hello from Utah. I get the 6-inch stakes from No Snow Yet. And I get the 6-inch stakes from No Snow Yet in Utah, except Mountains, my farm store. What? I think I get the 6-inch stakes from my farm store. No snow yet in Utah, except for the mountains. I got all jumbled up somehow. Not sure how that happened, but I figured it out. Yeah, it's nice that your farm store has them. Occasionally I'll find them in, like, we've got a hardware store here that does a lot of gardening supply and stuff like that. And sometimes I can find them there, but it's rare. Usually I just order them online. And I don't have to order them that often. Emma says, Chris, how many birds do you process each year to sustain your family? Well, not a ton, honestly. I mean, we don't live completely off quail and rabbits. I also deer hunt. We have the chickens, and we do buy a fair amount from the grocery stores just because I just don't do high numbers. But I probably do. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many I do a year. I don't know. Probably, a couple hundred. I don't know how many I do. Bev says, I have 2 quail at the moment. waiting for the younger ones to hit 8 weeks, and another 60 eggs scheduled to hatch on Sunday. Well, awesome. Good luck with your hatch. I hope it goes well. Jacob Wolf says, how many quail, hens, and roosters do you typically keep during the winter when you slow down? Also, what's the correct ratio of hens to roosters to have? Okay, let me grab a drink. Yeah, I slimmed way down in the wintertime. I've got maybe 10 hens right now, and I've got 2, maybe 3 roosters right now. So I'm like at 12, 13 birds total, something like that. That's plenty enough for me because, if I've got 10 hens, if they're laying 10 eggs a day in the spring, when I get ready to start incubating again, I can easily collect up to 70, 80 eggs, in a week and put them in the incubator pretty easily, and then bump my numbers up pretty quick. The right ratio, you really want 1 rooster for every 4 to 5 hens, somewhere right around in there. So I, like for my 10 hens, I probably got 3 roosters just in case something happens to one of them. But really 2 would be enough for that. I just like to have that extra 1 in there. Now, you really don't want to go more than like 1 rooster for every 2 or 3. I wouldn't go any more than 1 for 4. If you have too many roosters, you're going to end up with your hens being overbred. They're going to be beat up. Their feathers on the back of their heads are all missing. Sometimes that happens anyway. But it's just too much pressure on them and too much breeding pressure. All right. Scrap 5000's got a suggestion for Nuno. Says look into hen gear check-in nesting boxes. They're awesome. The eggs roll down into a section that the chickens can't get to, and they stay super clean. Also, get the automatic bar dropper. Interesting. Bev Smith says, me and the dogs will be eating well from your processing. Yeah. So Swanson's got a suggestion for Blessed with Pets. Says, do you hold her still and position him to sniff her tail? That may be an option too. Chester wants to know, can you rebreed does 8 to 10 hours after first breeding? Yeah, you can do that. That's pretty common practice, actually. A lot of people will do that second breeding. I never have. I don't find it necessary, but you can absolutely do it. Sometimes those does will get a little grumpy after they've been bred once and won't want to breed again, but you can do it. You can try. A lot of people will do it next day. So that would be more like, 12 to 24 hours later, just to make sure. Let's see. Is that liver? Livrrr. Anyway, says, hello, I'm new, learning a lot. Good to see you active. I've had 10 quails since they were 5 weeks old. Now I have 6, and they're maybe 12 weeks old, and they just started laying and have too many males. Today, I have my Shire eggs ready for hatching, a Winola Ranch cage on the way, and a Nutra-Right 360 ready to start incubating tomorrow. I guess that's me. Any tips? Well, it sounds like you got a lot of things going right. Too many males. I mean, if you're raising them for meat and eggs, eat the roosters. That's what I do. Eat the extra roosters. It's just extra meat in the freezer. That's an easy way to do that. Now, if you don't want to eat the roosters, you can. You're going to end up with a lot of birds pretty quick if you don't start eating some of them with, your eggs on the way and the incubator and all that kind of stuff. You can, move some of those roosters into a bachelor pad, keep them by themselves. But you're just spending feed on them for no reason. You might try to see if anybody locally wants them if you're not wanting to eat them. But, what I would do is just process them and eat them. Rick says, hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late. FYI, going into lockdown, 120 eggs in the morning. Well, good luck, I should say, with your hatch. Hopefully that goes well. And don't worry about being late. It's all good. We don't even know. We don't keep any kind of attendance here. So you're all good. Blessed with Pets says, let's see. So Swanson, no. Says S.O. Swanson, no, I just put her in there. He sniffs her, but that's about it. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Emma says tomatoes are heavy nitrogen feeders and beans fix nitrogen into the soil. You can either rotate your tomatoes to your bean bed or sow beans along your tomato. Yep, I knew all that actually. That was kind of my thought. And tomatoes are heavy nitrogen feeders. They're heavy on other things too. So I'm hoping that maybe switching them over to the part where the green beans were is a good solution. That was kind of my thought process with it. But you actually, articulated that better than I did, I think. So thank you. Hey, there's So and Tear from Gilroy, California. Good to see you. Let's see. We got a whole bunch of everybody talking to each other, and then we're out of comments. Oh, there's another one. Blessed with Pets says, how can you clean the smell off a rabbit? I bought a rabbit today. She's real musty. I think it's because the people I got her from vape a lot and had her on a solid bottom. Yeah, chances are you had her on a solid bottom. Chances are she'll clean herself up. Rabbits are actually fairly clean and they'll take care of themselves. If you do feel like you need to clean her up more than that, you can take like a damp washcloth and kind of try to wipe her off. Just make sure you get her dry. You don't want to put her back out in her cage wet. She's going to chill and have a hard time recovering from that. You can actually bathe them, but I don't think it's a good idea. I think you should probably stay away from that. Katana says, I got my Tamuk composite rabbits in October and already have litters from the does, about to wean and rebreed them for the next litter. Well, awesome. Congratulations. Hopefully you have some good success with that in the next litter. Sage Wolf is here. Good to see you. How are we doing on time? We got like 25 minutes. And we're slow on comments tonight. I'm already at the end. We'll give it a minute here to catch up. Maybe. It's not. I always say this whenever we get to this point here. I should always have something planned out to talk about whenever the comments run out, but I never do. I never have anything planned to talk about because most of the time you guys keep me pretty busy. Emma says, I've seen people mention rabbits that don't have a run get scent gland issues. I have kept rabbits since I was 5 and have only just heard of this. Do you clean your rabbit's scent glands? No, I don't do that. I've never had any issues with it myself. I've heard some things like that too, but most of the time you're hearing that from like the House Rabbit Society, which, honestly, when you start getting into those rabbit, I don't mean anything bad. I'm not trying to talk bad about those people or anything, but they're a little bit neurotic, and go a little bit overboard on some of the things they do with the rabbits. And that's fine. If you want to keep rabbits for a pet in your house and you want to go nerd out on it and, go overboard, then go ahead. But I've never had any issues with any of that stuff. Rabbit Homesteading says, I'm just enjoying your advice. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Verna says, well, Chris, in the next week, I'll be breeding both does. Well, hopefully that goes well. I still have not bred my rabbits. I've been awful lazy lately. I'll get out there and do it here probably this weekend. Blessed with Pets says, yeah, I'll see how she is in a few days. I'm not going to bathe a rabbit because that's just not smart. But if it stays bad, I may use a damp rag and a little hydrogen peroxide because she's a bit stained. Yeah, be careful with the hydrogen peroxide. It can do a lot of tissue damage if you leave it on there too long. So you dilute it down, you should be okay. Jacob says, have you ever heard of or dealt with a buck that rubs himself on the feeder and water? He's just now coming of breeding age, so I wonder if this is typical behavior. He doesn't have fleas. Yeah, more than likely what you're talking about is like rubbing his chin, especially on things. That's just a way that they claim their space. I mean, that's what they do. They rub their scent basically on all the stuff in their cage. Sometimes they'll rub it on your hands when you reach in there. That's just the way. I mean, that's just a buck coming of age, and he's marking his territory basically. So and Terry says the same thing. He's marking what's his. They're pretty funny that way. Yeah, some rabbits are more aggressive about it than other rabbits. Sometimes you don't even notice it, but it's pretty common. It's nothing to worry about. Jacob says, or anything, he just rubs and scratches on the feeder and water and the cage wall towards the does. Yeah, he wants to get to those does. That's what he's doing. G. Michael says to Bless with Pets, are you sure it's a male rabbit? Just wondering if you had a chance to do a recheck on him. That's not bad advice. She did say that she has one of his daughters, so she knows he's proven. I doubt that's it, but it's not a bad idea to check. I don't know how many times, the answer whenever you call in for tech support is, did you make sure it was plugged in? And it's not. But S.O. Swanson says they do that for dogs as well, scent glands. I've never done that either. No, I've never done that with my dog either. Never had an issue with it. Some dogs I think are more prone to that than others, and I'm sure some rabbits are too, but I've never had issues. Free Time says, if somebody wants to set up a colony spiral breeding program, how many quail would you suggest per cage? I don't know what you mean by spiral breeding program exactly. I'd have to think about that for a little while because that's a term I'm not familiar with. But you're talking about like a colony setup. I mean, that's what I do. I just have a big hutch and I throw all my breeders in there. It's kind of a colony breeding, I guess. How many quail would you suggest per cage? It depends on the size of your cage. My cages, the general wisdom is you can keep about one per foot. You can go denser than that if you want to, probably one per every. But if you leave at least maybe half a square foot per bird, you're going to be okay. But that's a little bit crowded for me. I like to go a little bit less than that, just my personal opinion, really. My hutches are 8 foot long by 3 foot, so that's 27 square feet. I usually don't keep more than about 20, 25 birds in there at a time, but you can definitely go a little bit deeper. It's really just depends on how big your cage is. So when Tara says Buck Bunnies say everything must smell like me. Yeah, that's pretty true, isn't it? Yeah, Blessed with Pets says, yeah, it's a he. He has a daughter. I remember you saying that. Emma Bell says, my children won't eat the quail. It's annoying because I do what I do in order to help cut the food bill. They were up for it until they became pet-like and adorable to them. Any advice? I don't. I mean, your kids. I don't. My house when I was a kid, it would have been you eat what we cook or you don't eat. But that's easier said than done too. So I really don't know what to tell you on that one. Maybe they'll get over it eventually because it seems to me like what you're saying. It's not that they don't like the taste. It's that they like the birds and they feel bad because they're eating the birds. But take them out and get them friends with some cows and see if they still eat hamburger and maybe they'll get over it. I'm not really sure, honestly. Rabbit Homesteading says, I love the weird sound Coturnix quail make, and from scratch lay so much quicker than chickens. Oh yeah, the sound I like the sounds that they make too. Even my neighbor says she likes the sounds that they make. But you're right, they do lay a lot quicker than chickens. DNK says, thinking of making YouTube videos on raising pheasants. Any advice? Well, just do it. Stick with it. It takes a long time sometimes for your videos to start getting out there, for people to start seeing them. Do some searches on YouTube for raising pheasants, see what other people are doing, see if there's any gaps there that maybe they've missed. If there's not a channel that's already doing a good job with it, then pick it up and start doing it. Just stick with it. Make sure you put out fairly consistent videos, which I've not been good about lately. But when you first start, it's incredibly important. You got to put out consistent videos or they won't get out there. Scrap 5000 says, question for everyone, please. Curious how much y'all paying for your local raised beef. We paid $5.70 a pound package for originally raised and vacuum package. That's half a cow price. We split it. That doesn't sound bad. $5.70 a pound. If that includes like steaks and those kinds of things, that's pretty good. I don't know what locally raised beef is around here. I haven't found anybody that produces it locally. I don't buy a lot of beef because I deer hunt. I usually get a deer. So that really cuts down. And then whenever we start running out of that, we'll go back to buying beef. We've got a butcher shop that sometimes will sell beef for, I want to say it's like $3.50 a pound. We've got ground beef for $3.50 a pound. But that's not locally raised necessarily. I don't know where it's raised at. But most of the time, ground beef around here is going for about, in the store, it's going for, for the 80/20, the cheapest one, like $4.50 to $5 a pound, somewhere right around in there right now. Jacob Wolf says, okay, thank you all. I was just worried that one time I came out to check on them and he had some dirt on his chin and his forehead. I'm not sure why. I don't know how he got dirt on him, but no, it's nothing to worry about. Blessed with Pets says, I got 6 does bred. You are going to be putting out some feed here pretty quick. Hopefully they all do well, though. Paul Adams says, hello from Arkansas. I'm running late getting here, trucking life. I got black laced, red, and silver Wyandottes this summer. We're really enjoying the fresh eggs. Well, awesome. Congratulations to you. And glad you could make it. Sorry, like I said, sorry I can't always put this out when it's convenient for everybody, but I'm glad you can make it tonight. We're glad to see you. Sagewell says, I built a hutch like yours, and I have put about 30 birds in there. Yeah, I've run higher than that before, too, but I typically don't run more than about 20 to 25. Blessed with Pets says, tell your kids it's chicken. It might work. Katana says, I have to tell my kids everything is chicken. They love fried deer meat, but I tell them it's homemade chicken nuggets. It's their favorite meal. Yeah. And then says, last night we turned corn deer meat into fritters and said it was shredded chicken made into nuggets. Yeah. Well, is that corned or ground? Did you actually make corn deer meat? Like corned beef? Or you ground it up? I don't know what that means. But either way, yeah, whatever it takes, I guess. Scrap 5000 says, does anyone tan their rabbit hides? If so, any recommendations for which tanning formula you like best? I don't tan rabbit hides, but we'll see if somebody else can speak to that. RBL Jackson says, let's talk vac sealing. Do you use that to store and freeze your quail? I picked up one this weekend. If yes, do you debone them? Freeze breasts whole, freeze skinned birds whole. I do it all the different ways. Most of the time when I'm processing quail, I'm just popping the breast out and sometimes taking the legs. So yeah, I don't debone them. I just stick them in the vacuum seal bags and vacuum seal them up. You might want to hit that, like mine's got a stop button that will seal it up. I hit it just before it gets to that, final kind of sucked in, right at the last second. If I let it go too long, sometimes it will punch a hole in the bag with the bones or something, but I don't have too many problems with that. Emma says, thanks, Chris. My dad was a gamekeeper. I grew up catching and skinning rabbits, catching fish, and owned my first shotgun at 11. They think so foreign, and they think I'm the weirdo. Yeah, city kids. Yeah, I know what you mean. I was the same way. I grew up hunting, fishing. I got not my first shotgun, but my first rifle, a 22 rifle. I was probably maybe a little younger than that, but not a lot. I was maybe 9 or 10, maybe I don't remember exactly how old I was, but it was a Christmas gift from my dad. And, shotguns came not long after that. But most of the hunting I did when I was a kid was squirrel hunting. So 22 was great for that. But yeah, you're right. Squirrel or city kids, my son, he's 24-ish. He's just now contacting me saying he wants to go hunting. He never did when he was a kid. It was just he just wasn't interested in it. So and Tara says, I vacuum seal whole spatchcocks, several to a bag. I also pressure can quail. Yeah, I've done them spatchcocked in a bag before too. I've done that plenty of times, but most of the times I'm not even bothering spatchcock. I'm just popping the breast out because that's really all there is to them. Rabbit Homesteading says, all my friends here with kids, I show my kids processing at a young age so they grew up. They didn't know any different. That's my advice. Get them involved or show them at the youngest age you can. That's not bad advice, but, maybe too late for that for some people. D&K Ranch says, to scrap 5,000, I raise beef in Utah, and right now I'm selling it for $5 a pound, cut and wrapped. Anywhere in there is good. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a bad price at all. How are we doing on time? Well, we got like 13 minutes left. Berna says to RBL Jackson, I vacuum seal my quail before freezing. I do it in the way that I plan to cook them. Just make sure that the sharp parts of the bones are covered so they don't puncture the bag. Yeah, that's good advice too. So and Tara says that you can separate the legs if you want to, so you can use them all and cook like chicken wings if that's something you're into. I do that occasionally. That's not a bad idea. If I'm going to, usually if I save the legs, that's what I plan to do with them. I don't always save the legs, but I don't know, maybe, half the time or more, maybe. Emma says, haha, I'm loving the suggestions, guys. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know how to get your kids past that to eat them. You could tell them it's not your birds, that you traded with somebody and process those birds, I guess. But, I don't know if that'd make a difference. Blessed with Pets says, one of my things for this year is I'm going to keep track of exactly how much I spend versus what I make on rabbits and my other animals separately. It's not a bad idea, especially if you got a bunch of them. Sage Wolf says, as a tip, use 2 10-inch terracotta bottom up to put my heated water like yours. What now? As a tip, I use 2 10-inch terracotta bottom up to put my heated water like yours. So 10-inch, 2 terracotta 10-inch, are they 10-inch tall? Not 10-inch around probably, because that would be a pretty tall pot, I would think. But you're turning them over, you're setting the water on top of them, so it's raised up off the bottom of the cage. That's not bad. Verna says, on rabbit hides, I plan to use the method Rabbit Center does it. I don't think they tan their hides, though. They just kind of scrape them clean and cure them, don't they? Don't they salt cure them, maybe? I don't remember how they did it. I've seen their videos before. Katana says, deer chunk meat, corned and then canned, and it shreds up easily. We mostly use it for hash. That's not a bad idea. I may have to check into doing that at some point. But I freeze my deer meat, and then we just eat it. Paul Adams says, any tips on how to get deer to show up when I have a weapon in my hand? Yeah, go to sleep in your stand. They'll show up every time, right? I wish I knew the answer to that, because I would be a millionaire probably. But no, I don't. I mean, it just takes time. I mean, it's just try to hunt a place that has, what you're looking for really is try to find the places. And this is easier said than done if you don't have like a deer farm or something, or you don't have a ton of time to go out and do scouting and all those kinds of things. But you try to find the places where there's like trails, obvious deer trails in the woods, and they either go down to like a pinch point or where there are a bunch of trails cross. So like you got obvious deer trail going this way and obvious deer trail going this way, set up right where they cross. You're going to have your highest likelihood of deer coming across there at some point while you're there. G. Michael says, question, have you ever hunted for quail? How did you get started with raising quail and rabbits? I have hunted for quail, but it was when I was young. We just don't have as many quail around here anymore. When I was young, we had quite a few, and I hunted for them back then. Not a lot, not often, but I did it a few times. I got started raising rabbits. I did rabbits first. It was, I wanted to do something to be able to produce some of my own meat, and I just decided rabbits is a really good, easy thing to get into, so I did that, and then I got the quail. And that was before the jumbo quail were on the scene. They were standard quail back then. And because the jumbo quail are kind of a recent thing. And then I moved up to the jumbo quail as soon as I, heard about them, as soon as I found out about them and could do it. I don't know if I don't know how much more of a story I can tell about it. It's just, I decided it's been, I don't know, well, a little over 10 years ago. I started the YouTube channel about the same time I started those things, and just decided, I'm going to produce some of my own meat. I live in town, so there's not a whole lot I can do here. I can't put a cow back there, for example, but I can get some rabbits, I can get some quail, and that works. Rabbit Homesteading says, to Scrap 5000, my recommendations with vacuum is to make sure no sharp bones to poke holes in the bag, and if a lot of liquid, freeze the back a bit before the seal, then the liquid is frozen and won't ruin the seal. That's not bad advice. I have had issues with that too. Verna posted a link for the rabbit hide video, so you can check that out. That's Rabbitry Center, I believe. Probably. Yep, the Rabbitry Center's version of it. I've seen it. It's a pretty good video, so you can check it out. Rabbit homesteading. Okay, so that's not a bad idea. What I usually, if there's any liquid in the bag, that makes it difficult to vacuum seal. What I usually do, and there's always liquid. I mean, there's always some liquid that's going to pull out of the quail or whatever. If you wait till that, like I said, it'll suck it down pretty tight, and then it goes that little extra bit. So usually what I do when I'm vacuuming sealing things that have any kind of liquid, and I'm not vacuum sealing like soup, for example, but like meat, I'll watch it pretty closely as that vacuum starts to get pretty tight, and then you can start to see the liquid being pulled out. When it starts getting pulled out, I hit that stop button, and it goes ahead and seals it up without the water getting up there or the moisture getting up there to the seal itself. Joy says, hello from Western Oregon. Electricity went off. And I have a full incubator of eggs and 25 1 to 2 day old quail in the brooder and some hatching in another incubator. Thank goodness for our local feed store. I grabbed everything and they plugged me in and saved all my chicken eggs. I grabbed everything and they plugged me in. Oh, you took it to the feed store and they plugged it all in for you? Well, awesome. That is very nice of them. Abba Love says, any know what is the best incubator for quail? The one I used for my first group back in July. I tried 2 other times since, and none of the eggs hatched. Well, I don't know what kind of incubator you're using right now, but that's that's probably a temperature issue. It's pretty common no matter what kind of incubator you get. So I don't know that there's a best for quail. I use a little giant styrofoam incubator for years. For like 12 years. Or 10 years anyway. I used it for a long time and it worked just fine. But the key is you get a couple of thermometers, throw them in there. I always say get 2, make sure they're calibrated, make sure they're accurate, throw them in your incubator and run it for a little while and then see what your incubator temperature says versus what the thermometers say. And if both the thermometers read the same, but your incubator temperature is different, then adjust your incubator to, whatever it is that you need to get, go by the thermometers and not by the incubator temperature, if that makes sense. So calibrate your incubator that way. And you're going to have to do that it doesn't really matter what incubator you get. You're probably going to have to do that with all of them. But I've used a little giant styrofoam incubator, works great. I've had good hatch rates with it for a very long time. Right now I've got the Ovation. I can't remember what it is. Ovation. What is that one? I can't remember which one it is. I'm looking to see if I can find the exact model. I think it's the Ovation, the Brisneo Ovation 56, I believe, but I can be sure of that. And it's working great too. G. Michael wants to know from D&K Circle Ranch, what part of Utah, and do you have a website for ordering? Verna says, no, Chris, when they are done, the hides are ready to use. No, Chris. No, in fact, I think what you're saying is no, they don't just cure them, they tan them. Well, I don't know that that's actually tanning though, but it works. You're still basically, it's not technically tanning the hides, but it is processing the hides. You're right. It's ready to use. It's not going to go bad. So you're not wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you necessarily. It's just not technically tanning, but that's probably what he was talking about anyway. So it's fine. Scrap 5000's got good advice for you, Paul. Says it's very easy. Just go squirrel or turkey or any other kind of hunting, and you're almost guaranteed to see deer instead. Isn't that the truth? You go deer hunting, you see squirrel everywhere. You go squirrel hunting, you see deer. It's exactly how it happens. I agree. Sage Wolf says the terracotta flat bottoms you put under the flower pots. Okay, that makes more sense. The little drip trays, basically. RBL Jackson says, thanks for the input on the back ceiling, food storage. I'm hoping it's a good upgrade for our frozen foods. Yeah, I like mine quite a bit. I'm probably due for a new one here before long. Mine's pretty old, but it works great. Robin Homesteading says, okay, I got you slightly with the liquid vacuum. Keep an eye on it and shut it off. I'll try that. Thank you. That's how I do it. It's a little tricky sometimes, but it works. But hey, the idea of freezing the stuff a little bit beforehand, that'd probably be a lot easier. Roads and Valley says, got the end of the live. Sorry, I was having family game night and forgot you started doing it at 7. All is well. Well, hey, that's no problem. That's a good reason to miss it. Spend time with your family. I'm not offended by that. Bob says, hey, Chris, I noticed tonight that one of my quail has what looks like a skin wrapped egg half stuck in its body. Should I try to pop it out or let it come out naturally? Oh no, that sounds like it's egg bound. That's not a good thing. I mean, you could see what you could do to try to pop it out of there. Chances are it's going to be a reoccurring issue, and you've got some prolapse issues going on there. I would probably give the bird a little bit of time, see what it does. You could try soaking it in Epsom salt bath, seeing if that helps it kind of pass it. But if it is prolapse, where basically the inside of the bird's coming out with the egg, probably best to just process that quail, and because it's probably going to be a recurring issue. All right, guys, I think we're out of time, aren't we? Oh, we got 1 minute left. We'll go for a couple more comments. G. Michael says, what's the minimum height the quail hut should be? Probably somewhere around 18 inches is probably about the, I mean, you could probably get away with 12 inches if you wanted to. Emma says, I'd say aim to go squirrel hunting then. Yeah, there you go. Blessed with Pets says, God bless you all. Well, God bless you too. Yep. So and Tara saying the same thing, prolapse. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up then. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate that. Emma wants to know, how can I preserve quail wings? Well, you could probably just rub a bunch of borax on the part that you've cut them off the bird and let them dry. I think that would work. I don't think there's enough meat on them. I really don't know, though. I've never tried. So try that out and see how that works. All right. We're going to wrap this one up. Thanks for joining me tonight. Good to see you guys. Thanks. And we'll, as far as I know, be back next week. Don't think anything's going to come up, but you never know. We'll see how it goes when next week comes around. And that's it for tonight. So thanks again for joining me. And as always, God bless.